My parents said I wasn't welcome at Easter. You always make things tense. The next day, I got a CashApp request. $5.40, your share of the Catered brunch. I sent back $5.40 with a note. Didn't break bread. Not breaking bank. Then I canceled their Instacart, locked the shared Prime account, and requested a refund on every order shipped to their zip code. 2 days later, my mom sent, "We can't even get eggs. What did you do?" I found out I wasn't invited to Easter dinner through a Facebook post. It was a photo of my mom's dining room, the same room where we used to cram a folding table next to the real one so the kids could sit too, even though most of us had bills and mortgages by now. The table was decked out like something from a magazine: glazed ham, deviled eggs with little paprika designs, those pastel napkins she irons every year. The caption said, "Family is everything." It took me a few seconds to register what I was looking at. Not because it wasn't beautiful, it was, but because I hadn't even been invited. I kept scrolling, half thinking maybe I missed a message or email. But there was nothing. Just a photo, and all the comments from family. "So beautiful, Lynn! Looks amazing! So glad we could all be together." I texted my sister. Just a quick, "You at Mom's today?" She replied almost immediately. "Yeah, everyone's here." Why? That why was the part that hit me. Like I should have known I wasn't invited. I called my mom that night. I kept it short. I asked her straight up if I was supposed to be there. She said, "We thought it'd be better this way. You always ruin everything. We just wanted a peaceful holiday." And then she hung up. No specifics, no examples. Just that vague crap they always throw out when they want to avoid admitting anything. Like when I stopped talking to my dad for 6 months after he tried to put a GPS tracker in my car. Just to be safe. Or when I backed out of helping my cousin move after he called me a freeloading loser for living in an apartment instead of buying a house. It wasn't even about Easter anymore. It was the fact that they didn't even have the decency to tell me up front. Just went ahead and erased me from the holiday like I was some kind of burden. The next morning, I woke up to a notification on my phone. A CashApp request from my sister. $540, your share for brunch. I laughed out loud. Literally sat up in bed and laughed. I sent her $5.40 with a note. "I didn't break the bread, I'm not breaking the bank." Then I got to work. I canceled the Instacart order my mom had set up through my account. No more prepaid groceries. No more toilet paper delivered every Friday. I went into our shared Amazon Prime account and removed every single address that wasn't mine. Then I spent an hour going through the order history, flagging every purchase sent to their zip code as unauthorized. Half of them were refunded within minutes. I didn't hear anything for 2 days. Then came the text from my mom. "We can't even buy eggs. What did you do?" I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I knew they didn't actually want an answer. They wanted me to roll over like I always did. Pretend like they didn't just exile me from the one holiday I've always shown up for, no matter what. But not this time. This time, they were going to feel it. And I was just getting started. After that text, "We can't even buy eggs. What did you do?" I didn't respond. I wasn't even tempted. It was the first time in years I felt like I had the upper hand with them, and I wasn't about to waste it on a guilt trip. 3 days later, my sister started blowing up my phone. Missed calls, voice messages, texts that ranged from passive-aggressive to straight-up insults. "This is petty, Richard. Seriously? Over one dinner? Get over yourself." Then, of course, came the attempt at shaming me. "Mom's been crying. She hasn't been sleeping. You're really proud of this?" The irony. They exile me from Easter, send me a bill, and now I'm the one who should feel guilty. What they didn't know was that I'd been the quiet backbone for a long time. I'd paid for Netflix, Hulu, Prime, and Spotify under the family plan. I covered half the groceries most months without anyone asking, just because I could. I helped my sister out with rent twice last year when she couldn't make it work with freelance. And somehow, they still decided I was the problem. I started cleaning house. I changed all the passwords. I locked them out of every shared subscription. Then I made a list of every digital thing tied to my accounts: Ring camera access for my mom's place, Nest settings for their thermostat, my HBO login on 3 of their TVs, and wiped it all. There were emails. Then came a flurry of notifications. Password reset requested. New device login attempt blocked. I didn't say anything. Just watched the confusion grow. But the thing that really told me it was working. My dad emailed me. Not called, emailed. Subject line: let's be adults. The body of it? Just 2 lines. You're not a little kid anymore. You don't need to be included in everything. We all have our own lives. That pissed me off more than anything else. Not because it wasn't true, I am an adult, but because of the smug way he framed it. Like I was acting out because I missed an Easter egg hunt. Not because they lied, excluded me, and sent me a damn invoice. And still, I almost doubted myself. I sat with it for a couple days, wondering if I was overreacting. If I really had made too big a deal out of it. Maybe I had ruined past holidays somehow without realizing it. Maybe I was the one who made things tense. Then my grandfather called. He asked, simple as anything, "Why weren't you there for Easter?" I told him the truth. He went quiet, then sighed. Said he almost left after 10 minutes. Told me my parents claimed I was too busy to make it. That he and my dad had an argument over it in the kitchen. Apparently, it got bad enough that Grandpa ended up eating alone on the patio, while everyone else stayed inside, pretending nothing happened. "I didn't even take home leftovers," he said. "Didn't feel like they were mine." And that's when everything settled in. They hadn't just left me out, they'd lied about it. Told my grandfather, who used to drive me to school every day when my parents couldn't be bothered, that I was too busy for them. They erased me, then rewrote the story to suit themselves. After that call, I was done playing nice. When my niece's school fundraiser invite landed in my inbox, I didn't even open it. When my sister texted me for help resetting Hulu, I left her on read. I was through being useful on demand. 2 weeks later, I got the text from my mom. "Richard, we really need your help. Can you send $2,900? It's an emergency. We'll pay it back. Please." There was no explanation. No apology. Just a number and a desperate request. I didn't hesitate. No. No follow-up. No. Sorry, can't. No softening it with a reason. Just no. I blocked her number for the rest of the week. And for the first time, I didn't feel bad about it. After I refused to send the $2,900, there was a weird silence. Not the angry kind. Just quiet. No texts. No emails. No half-hearted attempts to guilt me back into the fold. It was like they collectively decided to pretend I didn't exist. I knew how they worked. This wasn't surrender. This was regrouping. They were used to me caving. So they waited. And when I didn't, they moved on without me. I wasn't expecting a parade. But I guess I thought there'd be something. Maybe a begrudging apology, or even just an excuse. Anything to acknowledge the fact that I'd basically been erased. Instead, I found out about my dad's 60th birthday party from my cousin Nick's Instagram story. Big backyard setup. Full white tent, live jazz trio in the corner, heat lamps, table runners. My mom was there in some sparkly jacket she probably bought for the occasion, holding a huge cake with gold lettering that said, "Cheers to 60 years." Everyone was there. I tapped through the videos like I was watching someone else's family. My sister laughing with a wine glass in one hand. My Aunt Carol dancing in heels she could barely stand in. Even my cousin Gabe, who lives in Oregon and hasn't come home for any holiday in the past 5 years. No one had sent me a text. No one had even tried to make it look like an oversight. They just excluded me, again, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I didn't get mad right away. I just sat there, watching those clips in my apartment, the hum of my fridge the only sound. I didn't feel angry. I felt like I'd finally reached the edge of something. Like they'd drawn the line in permanent marker this time. The next morning, Grandpa called. He doesn't do pleasantries when he's upset. He jumped straight in. He said, "You know I left that party early, right?" I didn't. He told me he'd asked my dad where I was. And my dad, apparently without blinking, said I didn't feel like coming. No pause. No acknowledgement of the history. Just that flat lie. And Grandpa, God bless that man, didn't let it slide. He said he called my dad a liar. Loud enough that people stopped eating. He said, "Don't pretend he wasn't invited. You think I don't know what you're doing?" He told me the room got quiet, and no one said anything. Not my mom. Not my sister. Not the cousins. Nobody defended me. They just stood there and let Grandpa yell, then awkwardly moved on. He said he left right after. Didn't even wait for them to cut the cake. I didn't know what to say to that. I just sat there holding my phone, listening to this 76-year-old man apologize for the rest of our family. Then he said something I'll never forget. You weren't the problem, Richard. You were just the one they got used to using. And they don't like that you stopped being useful. It hit me harder than anything else had. Because deep down, I'd wondered the same thing. Not just recently. For years. Had I really been that hard to be around? Was I the one ruining holidays? Or was I just the only one who didn't play along when things got fake? And still, after Grandpa's call, I kept waiting for someone to reach out. Just one person to break ranks and say, "Hey, this isn't right." But nobody did. Not a text. Not a missed call. Nothing. I wasn't even sure what hurt more, that I was excluded, or that nobody seemed to care that I noticed. I kept waiting for the backlash after Grandpa left the party early and called my dad a liar. I mean, someone had to say something. He didn't just walk out quietly. He told them off. Loudly. In front of everyone. I figured someone would reach out, maybe to apologize, maybe to save face. Instead, total silence. Not a single call. Not one text. No passive-aggressive memes from Sarah. No. "Are you okay?" from Nick. Nothing. It was like they'd all taken some family-wide vow of denial. Like if they didn't speak my name, I wouldn't exist. I'd always thought our family was dysfunctional in a typical way, little lies, unspoken grudges, the usual mix of guilt and obligation. But this was something else. They were rewriting history in real time. Deleting me out of the narrative and locking the door behind them. I didn't expect to be missed. But I didn't expect to be erased. A week after the party, Sarah finally broke the silence. She sent one text. Just one. "Let's not drag Grandpa into this. He's old. He doesn't get it." That actually made me laugh. Like the 76-year-old man who'd sat through every holiday dinner and bailed them out financially more than once didn't. "Get it," I replied. "He gets it better than anyone." No answer. 3 days later, I got a voicemail from my dad. He never calls. Ever. The man will text me full paragraphs before he dials a number. He said, "I heard what your grandfather said at the party. I think we all need to cool off. You're still part of the family. But maybe this distance is good for now. Sometimes people just need space." Space. From what? Being treated like I didn't exist? Getting billed for brunch I wasn't invited to? I didn't respond. Instead, I started cleaning house for real. I didn't just delete their access to stuff. I started tracking what I'd paid for over the past 2 years. I opened my bank statements, receipts, digital invoices. Turns out, between groceries, streaming, gifts, and utilities, I'd spent over $12,000 on that family since 2023. 12 grand to be treated like an afterthought. The part that really got me though, I found a Venmo from last year, $100 to Sarah. The caption said, "Emergency vet visit." I'd sent it without asking questions. That vet bill? I found out later from her ex she never even took the cat in. They used the money for concert tickets. So yeah, I was done. And then came the twist. I was at work, getting through emails, when I got a call from an unknown number. I don't usually answer those, but something told me to pick up. It was Grandpa. From a different phone. He sounded pissed. Apparently, my dad had shown up at his house that morning. Not to apologize. Not to talk. But to warn him to stop stirring things up. Said I was manipulating the family. And that Grandpa needed to stop defending me. Grandpa told him to leave. And here's where it got weird. He said, "Your dad's trying to push me into an assisted living place. Said I'm not safe on my own anymore." This after one disagreement. I froze. That wasn't just a petty argument. That was retaliation. "Don't worry," Grandpa said. "I'm not going anywhere. I've already called my lawyer." I told him I'd help however I could. He just laughed and said, "Funny, isn't it?" I raised that man. Now he's scared of the one person who still sees through his crap. It hit me then. I wasn't just out of the family. I was the new threat. The inconvenient truth they couldn't bury anymore. They hadn't frozen me out because I was useless. They'd frozen me out because I stopped being easy. After that call from Grandpa, I couldn't stop thinking about what my dad tried to pull. Trying to shove him into an assisted living facility over one argument? That wasn't just disrespect, it was calculated. The kind of move someone makes when they're trying to eliminate the last person in the room willing to call them out. And it told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about Easter. Or brunch money. Or whatever they told themselves. This was about control. About who plays the game and who doesn't. Grandpa didn't play. And now neither did I. I offered to drive out there and help him if things escalated, but he waved it off. Said he had people, a lawyer, backup plans. That man's tougher than anyone gives him credit for. But I still made a decision that night. I started documenting everything. Not because I planned to sue anyone or stir the pot, but because I realized how easily these people rewrite stories. Today it's, Richard didn't want to come. Tomorrow it's, Richard made Grandpa paranoid. Or, he's always been unstable. So I made a folder. Screenshots, voicemails, payment receipts, old messages. I put it all in one place. It felt insane doing it, but after what they pulled, I didn't care how it looked. I knew who I was dealing with now. A week passed. Nothing. Then out of nowhere, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was my dad. New number. He wrote, "We're having a small dinner next week. Just immediate family. No drama. If you want to come, let me know." No mention of what happened. No acknowledgement of Grandpa. No sorry. Just a bland olive branch, like I was supposed to be grateful for the crumbs. I didn't reply. 3 days later, Grandpa called again. "You weren't invited to dinner, were you?" I told him technically I was. He laughed, then said, "Yeah, well, you didn't miss anything." Turns out the small dinner was a guilt parade. My dad toasted to resilience and moving forward. My mom made a speech about learning from family tension. They acted like everything was fine. Grandpa was there, but barely spoke. He said he left early. Again. But this time, it wasn't quiet. As he was leaving, my mom apparently tried to hand him a box of leftovers. He refused. Then he looked around the room and said, "You're all fine pretending, but don't expect Richard to crawl back just because you missed having someone to dump on." Dead silence. He walked out. I couldn't believe it. I asked him what happened after. He said, "Nothing. They didn't chase me. They just sat there and let me go." That's when I realized they weren't confused about what they were doing. They weren't trying to fix anything. They just accepted life without me, so long as it was on their terms. But what they hadn't accepted yet was that I was okay with that too. 2 weeks after that dinner, I got another message. This time, it was from Sarah. "Hey. I know things have been weird. But Mom and Dad need help. It's serious this time. Can we talk?" I didn't answer right away. I left it sitting there for 2 hours, rereading it like maybe the wording would change. But it didn't. Just vague enough to bait concern, just polite enough to avoid admitting anything real. So I finally replied. "Depends what help means." She sent me a wall of text. Their car broke down. Their insurance didn't cover what they thought. Their savings were lower than expected. And worst of all, my dad lost the freelance contract that had been paying the mortgage. They were behind. Way behind. They needed $2,900. The exact number they'd asked for the first time. I guess they thought if they circled back with a fresh sob story, I'd cave. I didn't. I texted one word. No. There was a pause, 10 minutes maybe. Then she sent another message. "You're really going to let your own parents struggle?" And right there, I saw the game again. It wasn't about whether they deserved help. It was about whether I'd feel bad enough to give it anyway. I didn't answer. I blocked the number. Then a week later, I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in over a year, my cousin Gabe. He said, "Hey, just wanted to say I get it. You've been right. A lot of us just didn't want to get involved." I stared at that for a long time. I wanted to believe it meant something. That maybe someone else saw what I saw. But then he added, "Still, family's family, right?" And that ruined it. That line, "Family's family." Like blood means you get to be awful and still expect a seat at the table. Like history entitles you to forgiveness. I didn't reply. A few days later was my dad's actual birthday, his real one, not the backyard show for Instagram. My mom threw another party. Smaller, just close family. I wasn't invited again, obviously. But this time, Grandpa didn't just leave early. He made sure to be heard. He gave a toast, apparently. Waited until everyone had a drink in hand, and said, "Here's to Ken. May he someday apologize to the one person in this family who ever stood up for himself." Then he sat down. No one clapped. No one laughed. Just a quiet shift in the air, like the room finally realized something ugly was sitting at the table with them. Later that night, Grandpa called me and told me everything. He sounded tired, not just from the party, but from being the only one calling things out. "You're not wrong, Richard," he said. "You just stopped pretending. That's not a crime." That stuck with me. Because it's not that I don't care. It's not that I want them to fail or struggle or fall apart. But I'm done being the one who pays the toll to cross the same burned bridge over and over again. They had their chances. And they used every one of them to show me who they really are. So this time, I stayed gone. About 3 weeks after Grandpa's second walkout, just when I thought I'd heard the last from them, something unexpected happened. Not a text, not a call, not a knock, but a subpoena. Yeah, a subpoena. At first, I thought it was some mistake. The envelope had my name, but no real context. Inside was a court summons tied to some kind of property dispute involving my parents. I had no clue what it meant until I called the clerk and found out my name was on a house deed. Their house. I'd co-signed a refinance for them back in 2020, something I'd almost forgotten about. Now they were trying to sell the place, and needed my signature to move forward. I was stunned. They hadn't mentioned a word about this in any of our "We need help. Please." They were just trying to go around me quietly. Like I was some formality. Like I was supposed to just stamp and disappear. Instead of getting angry, I got curious. So I showed up. Not to the house, God, no, but to the buyer meeting. I called the real estate agent, said I was one of the listed owners, and asked to sit in. He didn't hesitate. I wore a plain shirt, nothing fancy, just enough to look official. When I walked into that conference room and saw their faces, you'd think they'd seen a ghost. My mom looked like she was going to faint. My dad froze mid-sentence. Sarah was there too, holding a folder and trying way too hard to act like she wasn't freaking out. I sat down and said calm as ever, "I figured I should be here since this technically involves me." There was silence. The agent started talking, unaware of the tension in the room. He ran through the paperwork, then looked at me and asked if I had any questions. I said, "Yeah. Just one. When were you planning to tell me?" My dad started to speak, but I cut him off. "You needed help, right? And you didn't even ask. You just assumed I'd roll over like I always do. So here's my answer, no. I'm not signing anything." Sarah tried to jump in, saying they'd already made plans, that buyers were lined up, that I was being dramatic. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You should have thought about that before erasing me from the family calendar." Then I left. Later that night, I got a text from an unknown number. Just one line. "You're doing this for revenge." I replied, "No. I'm doing this because I finally can." And the best part? Grandpa called me the next morning, laughing. He'd heard what happened from someone at the county office. Said he wished he'd been there to see the look on their faces. Then he paused and said, "Been not used to you showing up on your terms." Neither was I. But I was starting to like it.